The 54th International Biel Chess Festival is over. Today was played the 7th round of the classical tournament of the Grandmaster Triathlon, where the 8 invited players were battling out and trying to find out who is the best. So today there were two decisive games, and Gata Kamsky scored his final victory, thus solidifying his victory in the tournament. Now let's have a look at the games that were played today. So we'll start with the game of Arturs Neikšāns, who was pushing against the Frenchman Maxime Lagarde with his favorite b3. Now white appeared to have not really much after the opening. The position was really solid from the black's perspective, aiming for some kind of king's Indian approach with a5, c6, queen b6, and organize some kind of a counterplay at the queen side. Rook d1, all of this happened, and here the critical moment arose when the Frenchman played queen b6, which in the interview was considered to be slightly dubious, but he said that he was looking for a big fight. And here after bishop b2, bishop b5, knight x, c takes on b5, apologize, and here after a4, b4 and a3, probably white had to play bishop takes on a3. Now the point is that after knight a4, rook takes on a4, white can play bishop b2. And after rook takes on a2, bishop d4, white keeps a solid advantage. Now instead here white played b takes on c5, which led to mass trades. After a takes, c takes on b6, takes here, c takes on b6, bishop f3, rook e7, the position inevitably led to the following endgame. Now white was enjoying a slightly better position due to the better pawn structure, but it was not enough. And yet the young Indian player was playing it out for many moves, won a pawn, but as soon as the rooks were traded, it was literally impossible for white to try to win the game. So they still kept playing it. Ultimately, white won another pawn on d5, but it was simply impossible to crash through, and the draw was very quickly agreed after 5. Now, in the game of Alain Pichot against Kirill Alexeyenko, here was played the Caro-Kann defense. After bishop g4, h3, bishop f3, queen takes on f3, obviously the Russian Grandmaster was looking for a fight, because in case if Kamsky would make a draw in his game and Alexeyenko would win his, he would be the one winning the overall tournament. After e6, bishop e2, bishop c5, short castle, knight d7, black was trying to be tricky and postpone the decision to develop the kingside knight either to e7 or f6, but here white played really nice maneuver knight a4, preparing to play d4 next. After bishop d6, d4, knight e7, here the Argentine Grandmaster made yet another nice decision. He took on d5, opening the position and trying to increase the power of his bishops. After castle, knight c3, trades, knight g6, c5, here Alexeyenko had to try to fight for the win, because the tournament situation demanded him that he has to win with the black color, otherwise he essentially has to be happy with the second place overall. So c5, objectively it's not a good move, but at least it generates some activity for black. Now white decided to play it safe. After d takes, bishop takes, probably it was perfectly fine to take the pawn on b7, but Pichot decided just play solid positional moves. After rook d1, knight e5, queen e5, the position inevitably simplified to a position where white is having a slight advantage, but nothing real. So white keeps the bishop, is slightly pressing. At some point, it felt that maybe white might try to get something out of the position with a cute little tactic that rook takes on b7 is impossible because of the back rank mate, but the position inevitably simplified and a draw was agreed when a repetition of the moves was already quite apparent. Knight e6, knight c5, and draw was agreed. Now, Boris Gelfand played a fine positional game against Noah Studer, who slightly misplayed the opening. After c4, d takes on c4, e3, they played a really topical line. After c5, shot castle, a6, e4 is a very modern continuation, which has seen just a handful of games in the variation. So the idea is that after knight takes on e4, white plays d5 and gets a really great compensation. So that's why b5 and bishop d3 used to be the main move in the position, but in 2021 some new ideas have started to appear. Bishop e2 now is the move to explore. Now after bishop e2, white's idea is to play a4 and then maybe push e5 with some favorable circumstances. Now Studer accepted the pawn, but after a4, bishop e7, he decided to give it back, and probably rightfully so, because after b4, knight e2, white would experience really a great compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Now after a takes on b5, short castle, bishop f4, here Studer made an inaccuracy. He had to play bishop b7, and if white decides to take the pawn, with b takes on a6, simply play bishop a8 with an excellent compensation and a great activity. Now instead, he played knight e7 and was experiencing serious issue throughout the entire game how to solve this pin at a file. Now Gelfand played some really powerful chess here. Knight e5 with bishop f3, queen b6, bishop d3, f5, queen e2. Now, Studer was obviously a fighter, and he found nice ideas how to defend. He sacrificed one pawn in order to activate his pieces, played bishop c5, targeting the pawn on f2. After knight e2, rook a7, now the pin is gone, and after the sacrifice on f2 and bishop takes on a6, black was very close to get a good game. Now, bishop e3 is threatening, so black had no choice but to take here and rook a6. So black's idea is to play h6 g5 at some point, thus naturally white stops it, trade, rook b1, trying to push forward the pawn, and b3, rook b4, bishop e3, rook c2, here, here, and here. Now this was the critical moment, and after h5, black simply had nothing better because the white king is coming to d1, and then the b pawn will march forward. So he tried to take two pieces for the rook back, but now white got a very powerful passed pawn. After g5, h takes, king g7, there's already more than one way to win this position. After king e3, king g6, b6, white simply used the momentum that his rook can make many moves here, while the black rook is in sort of a zugzwang. So Gelfand really won a stud-like endgame by temporarily sacrificing the pawn on b6, rook d6. Now black cannot take because the pawn will simply advance. So after rook e6, king g5, rook g6, the f5 pawn falls, the h4 pawn falls. Thus essentially white is up 2 extra pawns in an easily winning rook endgame. So Studer had nothing better than to resign. Now in the most important game of the 7th round was the young Winston Kiemer was playing against a 5-time United States champion, Gata Kamsky. And Kamsky didn't play for a draw, he decided to play it for the win, because again, with the draw, it wasn't clear if he's going to be able to secure his victory in the tournament. After bishop g5, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e3, the players were improvising right at the start. And after knight h6, the first mistake Winston did probably was right here. Now bishop takes on h6 was probably not a great idea, because after d6, knight e7, suddenly black got a very good counterplay. Now white lost a couple of more tempos by playing h4, h5, inviting to play a gambit, but after e6, black played it solid, and after bishop b5, c6, bishop d3, queen b6, black started to take over, because it was already quite difficult to defend the pawn on b2. Now here, the young German made a couple of strange moves and his position quickly deteriorated. He played knight h4, knight a4, and he had to go back. So here, after knight g4, king e2, bishop d7, it already was getting quite apparent that black is taking over the game and simply sacrificing the pawn on g6. After knight g6, rook g8 was another great move because the g file now is open. After rook h7, bishop f6, queen h1, long castle, check, take, and c5, black was about to start a powerful attack. Knight takes on e3, c takes on d4, queen c5 is just one of the many threats at black's disposal. So after queen g1, d5, now the threat is c4, king d2, knight f6, rook f7, rook g6, Kiemer decided it's time to give up something and played rook takes on f6. Rook takes and a3 and tried to build some kind of a fortress. After queen b6, rook b1, here, c takes, e takes, and bishop b8. Originally, Kamsky had an idea to play bishop h5, but then he changed his mind. After queen e3, he played back bishop d7 and tried to play a solid chess, probably seeing that his main rival, Kirill Alexyenko, is not gonna win his game with black. After a4, rook h4, knight e2, bishop c6. Now, black is obviously pressing here, but it was obvious question what is going to happen if white will manage to get his knight to e5. Now, after king c3, king b8, king b2, rook c8, rook d1, bishop e8, a critical moment arose here. Now, Winston was in time trouble, so he played queen f2, rook h7, and played a very careless rook d2, seeking ways to finally reroute the knight from c1 to d3 and missed this amazing shot, bishop takes on a4. Now after b takes, queen b4, queen a4, rook h1, rook c6, rook b6, black simply develops a killing attack. It didn't take long for the American Grandmaster finish off his opponent. He exposed the white king and was able to deliver a killing attack quite quickly. So after king a7, here the young German had to resign, and American not only scored another victory in the classical tournament, but also in the overall rankings. So here are the rankings after round 7. Gata Kamsky takes the victory of the 54th International Biel Chess Festival Grandmaster Tournament, the triathlon, with 35 points. Kirill Alexyenko is in second place with 31 points, and Mikhail Sarin, who was pushing his final round game against Maxime Lagarde, finished in the third place with 28.5 points. Boris Gelfand, Maxime Lagarde shared the fourth place with 26 points. Winston Kiemer finished 25.5, Alain Pichot 21.5, and Noel Studer is 15.5 points. That being said, the Biel Chess Festival is finished. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like these videos, please click on the like below the video. Also subscribe to Biel's Chess Festival's YouTube channel. I was Latvian Grandmaster Arturs Neikšāns. I hope you enjoyed my video coverages and see you in the next projects. Goodbye.